I think we're going to turn Florida blue in 22. I really do.
Predicting and promising a ban on assault rifles.
How would you do that, practically speaking? Like an executive order?
Yeah. I'll do it by executive order day one. Absolutely.
I spent 8 years up in Tallahassee fighting for the people of our state.
And I'm running for governor because Florida, I believe in us.
The Democrats for governor and Charlie Crist in the lead. His sights set on unseating DeSantis.
He's anti-women, anti-black, anti-senior, anti-people, anti-democracy. Enough is enough.
The campaign trail for Florida governor on this special This Week in South Florida.
Good morning. Glad you could join us. I'm Michael Putney.
I'm Glenna Milberg. 1.5 hour today and one conversation with a candidate for governor. Of the three leading Democrats looking to unseat Governor Ron DeSantis, Charlie Crist is ahead in fundraising and racking up endorsements this week, the backing of Florida public school teachers.
The congressman from St. Petersburg is, of course, a former governor, as well as a one-time state senator, Florida attorney general, and even education commissioner. Also a Republican until he turned independent and then became a Democrat in 2012. Crist's opponents for the Democratic nomination, especially Nikki Fried, harp on his past record as a Republican when he supported school choice, vouchers, and gun rights.
We've got serious issues that are on our plate today. Everything from gun violence to abortion, to voting rights, to health care, to our LGBTQ plus community. These are all issues that you fought for. You were the NRA's candidate for most of your career. The issues that we are fighting for today, your past record is what got us here.
Florida's recently passed laws governing education telegraph that school-related issues will be among the biggest and most contentious this campaign season. And that is where we started when we sat down with candidate Crist this week.
I'm a proponent of whatever helps our children get the best education possible to have a wonderful future, because that's exactly what they deserve. And, you know, I did sponsor the charter schools bill when I was in the state Senate. Jeb Bush was governor at the time. And it was different than the law is now, as you know. Well, you know, it always required that the local school board would approve it. There was more accountability in their performance. Those things are non-existent anymore. And I think accountability is so important. And I think that, you know, our children deserve to have accountability. Certainly their parents do. We have it in our public schools. We have too much testing, in my opinion. And, you know, I think that the charter schools and private schools too ought to have some accountability as well. Why not? I know our kids deserve it.
Yeah, well, I think there is some accountability, maybe not with the state, but there is certain accountability in education in private and charter schools. And, you know, what I'm hearing is as long as the funding is not taken away from public schools, then you would support the kind of expansion that's happening now?
Well, only so long as there's accountability attached, and I don't think it's up to par yet. So that would have to modify. But I don't want to take away any education opportunities. I don't want to hurt any students and what the parents think is best for their kids. I want to make sure that we absolutely fund public education the way it needs to be. As you know, Glenna, we have the largest budget in the history of our state right now, over $110 billion, and yet we're 48th or 49th in what we pay our teachers, and we're the third largest state. That's embarrassing. We can do better, and I will.
We haven't spoken since the end of session, and one of the bills that the governor signed was the Parents' Rights in Education bill. That's what the name of the bill is. Of course, it was sort of taken up by opponents as "Don't Say Gay," which is a paragraph in a very large bill that actually lays out parents' rights in education. You are a very big proponent of parents' rights in education.
Still am.
What do you think of that bill?
It's not right. Okay. Now, you know, the part that talks about LGBTQ is what I'm focused on. And the notion that in our schools we would make it more difficult to have, you know, guidance counselors to be available to help those children, make them feel good about themselves.
Respectfully, that's not in the bill that I read? What's in the bill?
It's in the bill I read.
Is it?
And it says, up to, first through third grade, it shouldn't be discussed. And I don't think I have a problem with that.
The curriculum.
Yeah, but then it also adds language. I'm a lawyer. And it says, or up to an appropriate age, we don't want to talk about it either. That's where it loses me because, we're all children of God. And, I don't care who you want to love. It doesn't matter to me the color of your skin or where you come from or the language you speak. All of our people, all of God's children deserve respect and acknowledgement and not to be chastised.
Let's talk about another bill that the now governor signed, the School Safety Act, signed this past week, the same week as we watched the slaughter in Uvalde, Texas.
Horrible.
Very close to South Florida that experienced this at Parkland and the families there 4 years ago. So the bill that the governor signed builds on what was signed in 2018 under Governor Rick Scott about school safety. And I wanted to get your take on the various components, which I guess broken down into their essential components.
It doesn't ban assault weapons, does it?
It does not ban assault weapons.
And it should. It's a joke.
Well, can we, let me, because I
Go
want to
ahead,
talk about that. Yeah,
All right, I'm passionate.
Stay
I'm
with
sorry.
me now. Okay, so in the bill, it breaks down into hardening schools, generally speaking, the buckets, hardening schools, mental health and behavioral attention to students. And those are the sort of the two things that build on 2018 when that very conservative legislature passed some pretty seriously unprecedented strong gun law for Florida. So this latest, it expands the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas Public Safety Commission, which is one of the things they do is look at the response of law enforcement. So I want to get your take on that school safety, hardening schools, mental health and behavior, that kind of thing.
It's weak. They're not hitting
bill is
the
weak?
problem. Yes, the bill is weak. It should ban assault weapons. It should require background checks that actually check backgrounds. It should have red flag law in it.
It kind of, the first law had a red flag law.
Oh, the one under Governor Scott, you mean?
Yes.
Well, we're talking about the here and now. I'm in a campaign against
Building.
Governor DeSantis.
You are.
And this is the bill he signed we're talking about. And it misses the mark. It doesn't do what you need to do. And it's a head in the sand approach because the NRA owns them, owns him, Governor DeSantis. You should ban assault weapons. I mean, think about it, Glenna. An AK-47, an AR-15, why do we need those in our society at large? I mean, I'm fine with them being in the military and I want them to have it to protect our freedom. But, the notion that we have it in society, look, I have a gun. I own a 20 gauge Remington Model 1100 gas operated gun that's usually used for hunting birds. And that's wholly appropriate. But if you go hunting with an AK-47 or a AR-15, you're going to turn venison into hamburger. I mean, it's stupid. It's not really a gun that's used for hunting.
And you are grappling with just those issues
And
on
I
a
believe in the
national
Second
level.
Amendment too. That's why.
Okay, so
Yeah.
so you're a Second Amendment guy.
Appropriate Second Amendment guy.
And the Second Amendment and constitutional issues and slaughter in a classroom, are two ends of this discussion. And so you're grappling that as a congressman. You and your colleagues in Congress are grappling with many of those same issues on a national level.
I'm sponsoring legislation to ban assault weapons for the whole country.
So let's talk about banning assault weapons. There's
And
a couple
magazine
of,
clips, too.
There's a couple of questions there because, a ban is a very controversial thing. It's not one of those things that can be in a framework of compromise.
It's not controversial now. It's about 70% approval of the American people, up to 80% in some recent
in Congress
surveys.
and the people who are going to vote on it. That's one of
Correct.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's kind of where
That's
I was
where the
going.
NRA plays in. Yeah,
So,
you got it.
how, as governor of Florida, how would you ban assault rifles? You said you would, but how would you do that practically speaking? Like an executive order?
Yeah.
And how would that
I'll
happen?
do it by executive order day one. Absolutely. And but I wouldn't stop there. I would try to work with the House, the Republican House, probably Republican Senate, but you never know. You never know. Things are going to happen in this election year that I don't think people predict right now, but that's for another day.
And there's more next. We zero in on Charlie Crist's position on abortion in advance of Florida's new law and the pending Supreme Court decision.
And sky-high property insurance premiums as hurricane season gets underway. We'll be back in 2 minutes. The race for Florida governor this year is going to be the first where registered Republicans outnumbered registered Democrats.
The GOP credits a year of aggressive outreach. We here at Local 10 uncovered countless lifelong Democrats whose party affiliations were changed without their knowledge by volunteer canvassers. And that is where we start, right here with Charlie Crist.
That's the actual fraud that's happening in Florida today by the Republicans switching senior citizens registrations who have been lifelong Democrats to Republican. There's an investigation now here in Miami-Dade. There's an investigation in Duval, up in Jacksonville. I mean, they did it all over the state. That's what ought to be ringing an alarm.
As
that
governor,
the Republican
what
Party,
would you do about that?
I'd have them investigated. I would have FDLE launch a full investigation. I would write to the Department of Justice in Washington to investigate what they're doing with our democracy. I'm a Democrat running to defend democracy. I'm running against Ron DeSantis, an autocrat trying to have autocracy here in Florida, telling school boards what to do, county commissioners what to do, mayors what to do, women what they can't do anymore. I mean, it's appalling. He has made us the most unfree state in America, and he says we're the opposite. He needs to figure it out.
All right, well, since you brought it up, let's segue into the abortion bill that was passed in Florida. Florida right now, well, when it takes effect, the limit on a woman terminating pregnancy will be 15 weeks, and no exception for victims of crime.
For victims of rape and incest, let's say it.
Rape,
that's
incest,
in the bill.
human trafficking.
That's
I do
shocking,
broadcast,
you know?
I headline it, victims of crime, and
Yeah.
all of those horrible crimes involved. For
Indeed,
sure, for
yeah.
sure.
Can you imagine any human being saying to a woman, if you get raped or you are subjected to, a family member having sex with you and creating a pregnancy, that you can't do anything about it? What kind of fool would impose that on any human being, on any woman, anywhere in Florida, or the country for that matter? That's appalling.
Well,
it's
some of-
unconscionable.
Some of the senators and representatives in legislature right now, in state legislature, voted for those things.
Yeah, they passed it. I know.
Would you have vetoed that bill?
Absolutely. I already vetoed a bill as governor. As your governor, I vetoed an anti-abortion bill that was going to require an ultrasound and make the woman pay for it. And I'm like, what are you
As a
doing?
Republican governor, you vetoed that bill.
Yeah, imagine what I'll do as a Democrat. Yeah.
So
I'm
you,
going to fight for a woman's right to choose early, often, every day. I did it as a young state senator, a Republican state senator from Tampa Bay, and I voted on a bill in the Health Committee that was going to require a 24-hour waiting period, and my no vote stopped the bill on a 3-3 tie. It never got to the Senate floor because of how I voted to protect women's right to choose.
you have a really interesting history in voting on abortion law. And that was in '95. I have all of my notes, all of your votes.
The one the dog bit.
The one the dog bit.
Your Labrador. I had a lab when I was a kid.
I have two.
You do?
So, okay, stay with me.
I'm with you.
1998, you voted to prohibit late-term abortions. What's late term to you?
The third trimester. It's kind of what Roe provides and most states adopt under Roe v. Wade. That's why I'm such a proponent of Roe versus Wade. And, here we are in early June. Soon we're going to hear from the Supreme Court officially, instead of through a leak, what that ruling's going to be. And I'm afraid it's going to be exactly what the leak showed, that they're going to overturn Roe versus Wade for the entire country, leave it to states. And that's why the governor's race is so important. The governor, if a pro-choice Democratic governor like Charlie Crist, will be the only backstop women in Florida have. And I will fight to make sure that they have that right to be able to choose.
You've taken a lot of heat from opponents on your differing votes on abortion, and not altogether opposing votes, just your votes and roster of votes. And you have been in favor of choice since I could find you talking about it, so 20-something years.
I am in favor of choice. You're
Why
right.
do you think you're getting so much heat for changing your mind when really, if you look at your record, you really have not?
I am who I am, and my record is consistent. Voting as a state legislator, vetoing the bill as a Republican governor that was anti-abortion, and now I have a 100% rating from Planned Parenthood as a member of Congress in his third term. And NARAL. I'm very proud of that. It is consistent. I am who I am, and I'm going to protect a woman's right to choose because I believe in actual freedom, unlike the current governor.
Is it possible to be pro-life and pro-choice at the same time?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that the Republican Party has sort of bastardized the term, and it offends me. Because the implication is, if you don't say you're pro-life by their definition, then what are you, pro-death? I mean, it's really insulting and insensitive.
All right, next issue, property insurance,
Oh,
windstorm.
God.
Another new bill that was signed in what by all accounts was a calamity in the making in the windstorm and home insurance department. So you, as governor, called special session for exactly that in 2007.
This is like deja vu all over again for me.
Do you remember back then?
Oh, do you think?
So what we were coming off of,
Sure.
and we in the news who covered these things, the 04-05 hurricane season, a parade of what was 8 different storms.
Well, Jeb was governor and I was attorney general.
Every single weekend.
One of them was Hurricane Charlie.
That's true, on the west coast of Florida.
Powerful storm.
It was. So that severely affected the rates to come and the ability for homeowners to pay to protect their homes. You called a special session, instituted some reforms. Fast forward, we're back to...
And it dropped rates 10%.
It did, and it went like this, and now we're back here.
Well, look who's the leader now.
Well, there's, in fairness, there are people in the industry talking about a very different reason, and what they're attributing all of this to is fraud. And
The key word you said, in the industry.
In
The
the
people from
industry
the insurance
and
companies are telling us, look at this over here. Don't look at the fact that we've jacked up your rates.
Okay, well, there is information and fact behind that, and stats behind that, in that the litigation in Florida is far and away more than any other state in the nation at the moment. The roofers
People have
and
a right
contractors.
people have a right to justice.
Yes, of course. And so
I was
that-
attorney general.
and
I'm
so
used
there-
to delivering justice and
There's
going
the
to court.
question. There's the question. This, what they did in this legislature was try to set up an infrastructure where to mitigate fraud and the litigation, fraudulent litigation. What do you think of that bill, that law?
I think it's a piece of garbage. It's an insurance bill. It's not a consumer bill. Really, as Attorney General for you and Florida, I fought insurance companies. I fought utility companies. I sued them, got hundreds of millions of dollars out of them. When I became governor, I appointed actual consumer advocates to the Public Service Commission. And now we have lapdogs there that approve every single rate increase you can imagine, from here to Pensacola. And FPL is one of the largest offenders. But Duke is not good, TICO is not good.
In the short time we have left, I want to get your take on sort of the politics of our time. You've been so many things in Florida for such a long time. You've seen the political winds shift, ebb and flow. And we're sort of in a time where it's us versus them. Not present company, but
right.
Us versus them. Very tribal, very angry politics. And that's what resonates to a lot of voters. A lot of voters, and we talk to people on the street, they like passion. They want to see fighters for whatever they believe in. And you're such a nice person in your persona. And
in my heart and in my soul. It's real.
And I wonder, as a politician who plays nice,
public servant
who plays nice, guy who plays nice, you think that'll serve you in this race?
More than anything. More than anything. I think there is such a yearn and a thirst for decency, for civility. I founded the Civility Caucus in Congress, of all places, and it works among us. They're heartbroken. I mean, some people do like it. And I run into them too, Glenna, and I feel for them. I feel for them that are so angry. I feel like saying, what are you so angry about? I mean, you live in the United States of America, one nation under God, and it really is. I mean, we are God blessed to be in the United States, no question in my mind. We're the richest country in the world, militarily the most powerful country in the world. In fact, we're the richest country in the history of the world. And yet some people are so angry. It's weird and it's wrong. And we have to thank God for everything we have and have a little more gratitude and a little less attitude.
I appreciate your time.
I
Sincerely.
appreciate your time.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks for your good work, your professionalism.
Thank you.
One and only Charlie Crist. We'll be right back.
To rewatch today's interview or listen to the This Week in South Florida podcast, just go ahead and scan this QR code with your phone right there on your screen, and it'll take you right to the This Week in South Florida section of local10.com. And as always, we thank you so much for being here with us. And remember, we are online at local10.com 24/7.
And we are getting out a bit early today to make room for Special Olympics. Back with a full show next week. Remember, as always, stay informed, get involved. Have a great Sunday.